Jigsaw falling into place from the new Radiohead album In Rainbows, and Thom Yorke and Ed O'Brien from Radiohead. Welcome to the programme.
Hello. Hello.
You've caused a bit of a fuss, haven't you? Haven't you?
Glad to oblige.
All these newfangled ideas of how you put a record out. Chaos.
Yeah, was it? I don't know. We stayed at home and hid.
Well, I was going to ask you, actually, because we'll talk about the actual sort of modus operandi, you know, how you put the record out a bit later on, but what were you doing, and where were you the day the downloads went out?
So that was October the 10th?
Yeah.
Wednesday. Wednesday, what's Wednesday?
Did you not all get up, were you not on the phone to each other saying, it's out, have you seen this, there's a review on this website?
We probably had a meeting.
Right.
We probably had a meeting about it.
Yeah.
We had a lot of meetings beforehand about it.
We keep having meetings.
Yeah.
Is that all you do these days?
Meetings.
It's all right. They're nice meetings.
Yeah, they're good meetings.
They're just long meetings.
Yeah.
You see, I had this vision in my head that you'd be sitting there the day the album sort of finally arrived, like some sort of Bond figure, like sort of stroking the white cat. Look at the cat. Look what I have done to the music industry.
I seem to remember sitting at home thinking, I'm sure there's something I'm supposed to be doing. That particular...
Yeah.
We didn't do anything that day at all. Right. Sometimes we have days where we don't do anything.
Which is nice.
Yes.
And I have to ask, even if it was just for a test, just to make sure it all worked, did you order one yourself?
Yeah.
Did you?
I got 10 disc boxes. I spent 400 quid on 10 disc boxes. I reckon I should get something special.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ed.
Phil has too.
I haven't.
It has been noted. I think Phil and I are probably the people throughout the world who spent the most on it.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of family out there. A lot of people to make happy.
My missus is asking when she can hear it.
What, the disc box?
No, the records.
Yeah. She's still not heard the record yet?
Yeah, I've downloaded it, but I haven't got around to playing it yet. But I downloaded it for, nothing, obviously. I thought it would be silly to pay money.
I was going to ask, did you pay yourself any cash, but no.
No. I just swap it from one pocket to the other.
Well, as I say, we'll come back to the manner with which it was released a bit later, but obviously the most important thing is new music, and in some cases, new old music from Radiohead. What's, for people like myself who didn't follow some of the more enigmatic postings on the blogs, what was it like? What was the experience like making this record?
It's funny, actually, we didn't really put much on the blog about it, other than, well, as far as I remember. It's alright, we're still here, but we didn't really talk about it because it was really hard. and it's nothing more boring than people going on about how hard it is.
And was it a difficult process?
It's always difficult, I think it's like, you just have to accept that it's hard work, and that's what it is, and it took a long time to sort of get together and do it. We took a year off after... collectively we took a year off in, 2004, so we finished touring Hell to the Thief, and then we sort of reconvened for rehearsals in 2005, and we did a bit of self-producing recording then, and bits and pieces, and then we decided to go out on tour in 2006, and we started to work with Nigel in the autumn of 2006. So it's just it's taken a long time, and it was hard, but it's as Thom says, it's really boring to hear that. It's much better to have photos of people either asleep or looking fairly intense.
We can do that quite easily. Phil described it quite well this morning, because what happened, because we came off tour and we were quite confident about the songs, we thought they were pretty good and blah blah, and you get some, maybe you do, I mean, occasionally you'll get a morning where you wake up thinking, I'm looking pretty good today, and you walk past the wrong mirror and you're like, oh no. And that's how it was, because actually when it came to listening to what we had, it wasn't quite as good as we thought, so we actually had to do some work, and it was really, and that's what took the time, because the ideas were good, but it just took a lot of getting it into the shape that we imagined it looked like.
Yeah.
And what about, I heard all sorts of stories and rumours, and people have told me, did you try and rebuild a mansion and record in it? That was one of them?
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
Right.
It was, yeah.
Tottenham Hall, specifically.
Yeah.
This is an old pile, and it really was a pile, that had various incarnations, from being a drug rehab centre, its most recent, to previously a boys' prep school, to previously the seat and home of Lord Cardigan.
Yeah,
and it hadn't been lived in for something like 15 years. And we wanted to find a space. You know, when we recorded OK Computer, we wanted to go somewhere. We went to Jane Seymour's place outside of Bath, and
which was nice.
Which was nice. And we were trying to find places, and Nigel found this place, and there aren't that many left. Most of these old houses, there were a lot 10 years ago. Most of them now are sort of been bought up and done up. There's a lot more money around. But there was this one place where the main atrium, there was sort of, when it rained, water came in. But we took a room off that, and we slept in caravans in the grounds. We had our own caravan each in the grounds.
Yeah,
it was great.
It was in I don't know. It was like one of those places where it's barely habitable because it's been neglected for so long. And there's certain windows you shouldn't stand underneath because the glass might blow out on you. It was pretty bleak. But you know, it's one of those weird things where so much of the vibe of the record is off that place. Because we had all these microphones in weird rooms, and we had there was this circular room where we put everything into. So the joke was, when we left, it's like, well, we've got nothing else except the reverb, but at least we got the reverb. Now we have to fit the tracks around the reverb.
But I mean, it's very important, the atmosphere within which you record your albums, though, isn't it? I mean, is it becoming more of a test or a challenge to find new places where you can actually feel at home?
I think that it's okay to do that every now and again, but ultimately it's a royal pain in the arse.
And the bulk of the recording was actually done in our studio and in Covent Garden.
Right.
So it's really nice to... why we did it was because Nigel wanted us to just sort of be thrown in a fairly uncomfortable situation. You know, something that was fairly unfamiliar, and often if you do that, stuff comes out of it. But the stuff that, you know, the Body Snatchers was basically a live take done on the pretty much the second time we played it. That came from that. And bits and pieces.
And the madness of the place had really set in. It was like 10 days in.
And it can be a bit. Then it becomes a bit kind of like, okay, let's get out of here pretty quickly.
So it's obviously the recording process still envelops you. Then I was thinking maybe the mood is slightly lighter now, certainly less difficult than when you were making the bends, or maybe.
Well, I mean, hopefully the end product is supposed to be much more. Oh God, what's the word? In your face, you know, quite direct and have a lot of energy, because that's what we wanted to have from the record. The process is sort of, it's always enveloping. It's always that's the nature of making the nature of working with a group of people like that. You have to get sucked into something. You can't just dip in and out of it. Because everyone has to collectively move with what's happening. Which is a drag, you know, but it's also the strength of it. I think that's why bands are exciting. If a band, if you're in that situation where you're in a band, but yet when you go to the studio, everyone tracks individually and puts all on the computer, then you may as well be a solo artist, really. So that's why Nigel always forces us into these places, grumbling as we do.
Listen, we'll play a track from the album. We'll talk some more. Radiohead, our guest this afternoon on Six Music. And this next from the record, we had a few choices actually as to what to play next. In the end, I went for this. This is 15 Step. Radiohead on Six Music and 15 Step, and talking, I mean, I was saying, I was wondering whether there was a lighter mood in the camp. Certainly, there's been some times where you think Radiohead look like they're having quite a lot of fun now. One of them being the webcast the other week, and the associated videos, Adam Buxton's video for that, if you haven't seen it, go online. We can't give the game away.
Entirely serious. What are you talking about?
Right, but there's a great 15 Step reworking, and also cover versions in the webcast as well.
Oh yeah. Well, that was just actually it's songs we'd always wanted to work out. What did we do? Ceremony and Headmaster Ritual.
Headmaster Ritual. I never thought I'd see you do a Morrissey Smith's song.
I tell you what, it's a bit of a bugger doing it and playing those chords at the same time. It's all right if you're just, walking around the stage as he does.
Yeah.
It's working it out as well.
Oh, man.
You got to work out the tuning, and everything. It's. I mean, it's. I think we picked songs that were just. We didn't mean to pick songs that really meant something to us, but they really did. When we were, I guess, forming the band and stuff like that, these are really formative songs.
So New Order Ceremony.
Yeah, and
I'd always wanted to do that.
You want to do that, and I always want to do Headmaster Ritual.
Did Johnny Marr show you the chords, Ed?
No, he didn't. But he did actually.
You too chicken to ask him.
No, I said to him, I think I finally worked out how to play Headmaster Ritual, and he just picked up the guitar and sort of retuned it to open E and was like, yeah, does it go something like that? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So
I loved, one of my favourite things about the webcast was the fact that Ed and Phil turned up in their best clothes, looking like they're actually going to work, they're actually going to be on a proper stage, and the rest of you all turned up looking like just wandering off the street.
What do you mean? I'm dressed up for that?
That's you dressing up.
Friday night.
You're better dressed now. I'll tell you one of the interesting things about the webcast, though, which you've done before, but in this case particularly, is it makes the band feel so human, because it puts you in a setting which every band understands.
Yeah.
Every band has been there, particularly doing the cover versions.
Yeah.
It's like everyone does that.
Yeah.
No longer the mystique. It's everyone does cover versions, and it just felt really touching.
It's just, I think we're going to carry on doing it. It's a real laugh just to get together in the room and work on other people's songs. It takes all the pressure off, and you just enjoy making a noise.
Did you do cover versions back in the old village hall days when you were starting out?
But
the odd one, yeah.
The odd one, but we never really threw ourselves at it.
No.
It's just a good education to get outside of your own imaginative space.
Coming back to the album, so how difficult was it? How many songs did you count up? How many songs you worked on in the course of making this record?
Well, Nigel limited us. I remember we had the old blackboard out, which in the Kid A days had about 60 titles going on it.
And I was the only one that knew what they were.
And Thom would do this great. He'd come in another day on Kid A, he'd write down another 5 songs.
And every now and again someone would come and go, what's this bit here? ADC stroke F. What's this one?
What is this one?
Oh, well, I'll play that,
So Nigel was on this record, he's like, now listen, he sort of said, why don't we just hone it down to 15 or 16 songs?
Right.
We've really got to, the other thing is that by the time we were in the studio with Nigel, we've been playing some of these songs for a year and a half. So there was a kind of a slight sense of desperation.
We had to get rid of them.
We had to get rid of them. We had to try and do them as quickly as possible and do them best we could. So the only way to do that is to really concentrate on them, to nail it down.
I did keep coming in every Monday and adding a couple though, and I'd find someone to wipe them off a few days later.
No. Do you think that was Nigel?
Mm-hmm.
This is Nigel Godrich's producer, obviously.
Well, it may have been. It could have been anybody, really.
Could have been just somebody who didn't like it.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah. So you work on the various songs. Is there a pivotal track this time round? Something that you think, right? That's kind of going to partly set the mood for this record.
What would you say that was?
Well,
what would you say that was?
What would I say that was? I think the big breakthrough, I think, was we did a load of recording with Nigel. We'd done about 8 weeks before Christmas of last year, and we came back and we listened to a lot of it, and a lot of it wasn't good enough. But
what makes it not good enough?
It just was.
It's not
good enough.
It just doesn't please you.
Yeah, just
we are not pleased.
Yeah, it just
Radiohead are displeased.
And so I think it was the second day we were in our own studio, and we basically cut 15-step in a day.
In one go, yeah.
Yeah, and it was doing it live. Everybody was playing live, and it was like, oh, okay. That was kind of the first time, I think gave us a lot of confidence, and we needed it then as well, because we weren't very optimistic at that stage.
No, it was going down pretty fast.
Yeah.
I can't believe that even after all this time it gets so bleak, you lads.
It's not bleak. It's about it's confidence. Confident.
Yeah.
It's I don't think confident. Just because you've been able to do it before doesn't mean you can still do it. And I think that's the thing that kept us just because you've done good music before doesn't mean you can still do it. And I think we were supremely unconfident.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, the thing for me having and this only begun to come through after a few listens, but it strikes me as being a very intimate record, and I think actually being able to do nude and doing it very well was quite an interesting.
Yeah, I don't think we'd ever been able to do that song until now, even though it's been kicking around for 10 years, because I don't know, it didn't, whatever it meant then, it didn't, it means something to us now. It's a weird, one of those weird things.
Because that's a song that's one of the songs, as you say, which has been around for a while, which is...
I think it's because I used to hate the way I sung it.
Right.
Well, I used to hate, it was probably, as you say, too intimate, and I felt really uncomfortable with it.
It's an intimate sounding record though in places.
Yeah.
All I Need is very intimate.
The videotape as well. Body Snatchers not so.
No. Which is, but that strikes me as being one of the... That's the sort of slight shift in mood this time round.
Yeah, you've got to have something like that.
You've got to have a shift. Got to have a shift of mood. Did you have people emailing in all the time saying, when are you going to do this? Are you going to do this? We've had through our webpage people like Dan in Hastings saying the new version of Reckoner surprised everybody.
Yeah, that's really because it's not the same song. Well, there was a song called Reckoner, and then I ended up writing a second part to it, and that mutated into the only part to it, and then Johnny wrote another part to it, and the song that as it was left the building.
Right. And how did Down Is the New Up not end up on disc 1?
Oh man, that was the hardest decision that we had to make. That blew my mind, because that's my you wait till you hear it, because the recording of it is mental.
Yeah,
it's great. It's like best drumming Phil's ever done. But it just didn't fit.
Right.
It's weird, it just did not fit.
Right.
We had 2 weeks where we were trying to work out what went on.
We had 16, 17 songs, and we knew we wanted to make a record that was concise, and it couldn't really be more than 10, 11 songs. So we tried to make things fit, and for instance, I mean, Jigsaw nearly didn't make it onto it. That was like the last song that kind of went on, and it was suddenly, it makes really... it's that track listing of a record, everything's up in the air, and it becomes something else only when you've got that track listing right.
You see, this is weird, and we're going to pick up on the whole idea of the track listing and the shape of this record after the news, but we're going to play another track just before we get to the news. This is your choice. Ed, do you want to play a Kings of Leon track?
Yeah, man, A Party. If there's one band I totally love who've made 3 amazing records, and the new one's amazing, it's Kings of Leon, and I saw them live at Hammersmith Apollo in the summer, Friday night. Just blew my mind. They are just... I don't get jealous when I see other bands, but I see them and I go, man, I'd love to be in that band. They're young, they've got that, and they write amazing songs, and they've got that thing. Yeah.
And also, weirdly, it's quite a lot about the atmosphere as well. They write those songs around the pond, don't they? They've got a lake out the back, they take some tins of beer, and they just sort of kick back until a song arrives from the ether. And
they remind me of one of those bands like I used to love in the 80s, like the Bunnymen or something like that, they're growing, they're evolving. The first record is amazing, there's a bunch of songs, but the sound now that they've got, and they're amazing players, and the drummer is just... He's incredible too. I mean, they're all great, but he's really special.
Okay, we'll play a track. That's what you want, actually. Kings of Leon, then, on 6 Music. I'm from Radiohead. There's loads more to discuss. You're all right to stay a bit longer, I'm presuming.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Can we persuade? We'll get another cup of tea during the news. We'll be back with Radiohead then after this.
Digital Radio.
So it's one of the tracks from In Rainbows we've covered already in this hour. Our special guests are Thom and Ed from Radiohead. So that from the album In Rainbows is Body Snatchers and Fessing Up Time. First time I heard this record, and you know me, I always give you an honest opinion. Fessing Up Time. First time I heard it, the thing that I found really strange was it didn't seem to be a centre to this record. It didn't seem to have a certain sense of focus. With previous, if you go back to, say, Hail to the Thief, lyrically, there's various sort of themes running through it. Fatherhood, maybe the political landscape outside of, the family home.
Okay.
But it was something sort of holding it together. Less so with this record. Do you think?
No.
Right.
But only because no, the centre is Reckoner, I think.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah. It's because that's where it goes into a space of its own. The central point, because we separate like ripples on a blank shore, that's the centre.
Right.
Yeah, everything's leading to that point and then going away from that point.
Right. So literally, it's quite like dropping,
for me anyway,
dropping the pebble in
and
the
then
pool.
I tell you what, though, we did something. We were talking to somebody this morning, and there's all these mad theories on the net. I mean, I don't, I'm not one of these people who ever reads them, but someone read one out to me. It's all about tens, and apparently, mathematically, that is the centre point.
Is it the golden section?
Yeah, was that with Craig?
Theory,
yeah, the golden section theory.
Yeah.
So if you're really, 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 really stuck for something to do, you could always read up about that.
Okay. Musically, though, as well, you've mined various themes with different albums, tested different parts of what the band is about and what it's capable of doing. This one feels like you've gone down the mine, but found different themes. You're working on different parts, stretching different parts of your music, instead of going particularly in one direction, I think.
Really? Huh. I think there was less of trying to follow an aesthetic and more trying to sort of be true to the songs themselves and what was going on with the words and so on. Ed was big on the words on this record and kept sort of focusing back on that.
But that to me is that I kind of, for me, music in the last 4 years, I went through a phase of like not being able to really listen to music sort of 4 years ago, and the thing that I came back to was a song is lyrics. A song is a singer, and that's 80% of it, and the music is like 20%. It's the thing that backs it.
Can we discuss that with the publishers later? Sorry, Karen.
Yeah, well, it's about half and half at this stage. Yeah. And that was the thing for me, was like the noticeable thing when we reconvened was there were these lyrics, and sort of really latching onto the lyrics, because I felt like they were they were universal. There wasn't a political agenda. There was it's being human. It's being there's a lot of humanity in there.
I think that's the intimacy.
Yeah,
that's connection.
And I was getting a buzz hearing the lyrics, and that had been like on a genuine sort of very profound level, and so I think it was really, I think what you've done on the Eraser as well, that the voice for us, the voice is up front as well. You didn't pull the voice back, and so the voice is up front. So that was really good to hear. That was like, wow, we need to do that. And it was just getting the songs right and getting the background right to the vocal and to get these lyrics heard, because that's basically what it's about.
Had the experience of doing the Eraser, did that shape how you approached or contributed to this record?
It kind of threw me a bit initially, because that was a really...
All of a sudden there are these other blokes in the room.
Yeah.
Disagreeing with you.
So, understatement number 8.
Life was a bit trickier.
Yeah. Hang on a minute. So, yes, that's answered the question. No need to elaborate.
So, coming back to the, I don't know whether it's something to do with continuity, but I mentioned that we was talking to the album to one of your fans, like a mega fan, and she was saying actually this is actually the first Radiohead record which works on shuffle. Now,
oh, really?
That's cool.
I'm glad we wasted those 2 weeks putting it together.
I was going to say, after you were saying about, constructing it and the track listing must be like this, it works on shuffle.
Maybe that you just have to find the right 10 songs that you can shuffle to make it work.
Let's unbundle.
Yeah.
There you go. So obviously that brings us to the way you put the record out. Whose idea was it in the first place?
Thank you, Steve, for not starting the interview with that. That was good.
It's not the most interesting thing about the record.
Is it?
The music.
I was rather hoping it wasn't. No.
But I have to ask though, because because in a way, I thought, they're having a laugh here. This is brilliant. But honestly, thought they're doing this because they can.
Yeah.
It's going to amuse them.
Yeah, it's definitely a sense of we did it because we could. We're not in a contract. We weren't in a contract, and we had to find a way that all along it was our management said, we're not going to negotiate until you've done this record, blah blah blah, and they came to us earlier this year with this idea of like, well, why don't we just do a download only release? You can release it immediately. We can do it ourselves. and they initially said, let's just do that, no CD, nothing, and we were like, hang on a sec, well, that's a great idea, but I think people need to, there are lots of people who aren't internet savvy, so let's get a CD out as well. But they came to us with that idea, and it
Were you a little freaked out initially? Did you just think, actually, that's not a bad idea?
No, I think everyone, it felt right straight off. I mean, it was funny though, last couple of meetings, everyone was going, are you sure this is a good idea? Are you sure? Especially when it was like, we were trying to come up with the wording of how to sort of, how to sort of say to people, you can pay for it or not, sort of thing,
Yeah.
That whole thing was it felt very surreal.
You see, the only other thing that obviously struck me was that maybe you were trying to protect the concepts of the album, not everyone's album, but just making a body of work that people, once you've been through all this, should hear the context of all those songs rather than it just going out as an album you could buy track by track.
Yeah, there was definitely that, because it was a way of retaining control over how it was heard in a bizarre sort of way, because there's no sort of filtration process beforehand. It's like, are you interested in hearing this? If so, please come here again in a few days. It will be here. That's it. Nothing else at all. And it sort of, especially I think because you can't help be conscious of the baggage of the whole situation, and it's nice to just sort of leave it in a pigeonhole and say, go and pick it up from the train station, leave it in one of the, hand someone the key and say, go and get it. We're finished.
How on earth did you keep it secret that you were doing this?
We had to literally not tell anyone. Yeah. It was literally
families. No?
Yeah, I mean,
pretty much.
I didn't tell my wife that we were going to release it like this.
Right.
We literally didn't tell anyone. And we had about a month and a half of the summer where we'd sort of finished and mastered. Well, we hadn't actually. We'd done a master of the record.
Yeah.
And so we had to keep it stum.
Yeah, we had to destroy. We weren't allowed to have copies in the house. We had to destroy all copies. We weren't allowed to have copies on computers and none in cars. You listen to it once and then you have to, give it back or do whatever, erase it.
This is like working for MI5.
Yeah, it was wicked.
It was great fun.
I want to carry on like that. I get a real massive kick out of it, rather than like some guy at the record company or whatever, or someone who works in the studio just walking in, nicking it and putting it on the internet. I mean, all it was for me is like I sort of wanted to do it on the Eraser, but it was too difficult. But was every record that we'd done for ages has been leaked, and why not just leak the bloody thing yourself? Why let someone else sort of nick it and get it a little bit wrong and get it, the wrong versions of it? Do it yourself. And
makes good sense. We're going to talk more about your own work in a second, but it's your turn to pick a record. Do you want to Robert Wyatt?
Yeah. I'm off Comic Opera, or Comic Opera, or whatever it is.
And you're a Wyatt fan? Years?
I've known his stuff for ages, but I downloaded this record because I read an interview with him in Wire, and it was a really refreshing interview where he was talking about actually, like what we were saying earlier about words and the human voice, and how there's no point in working as an artist in isolation, because you've got your own little pond, but your pond's got to become part of the stream, or whatever it was. It was, and it was a really great interview, so I downloaded it, and I haven't listened to it except for the first track. I put the first track on, and I've had it on repeat for 2 days now, because it's so beautiful, and it really fits with so many things to me at the moment. It's I don't understand why Radio 2 aren't playing it to death. I mean, it's beautiful. It's an amazing song.
It's Robert Wyatt on Six Music. Robert Wyatt on Six Music, the choice of Thom Yorke. I haven't asked about the rest of the boys. Are they well?
They seem to be all right.
Yeah?
Very fit.
Very fit.
Yeah.
Very fit.
Fit.
Colin, I never had Colin down as being fit.
Define
You'd
fit.
be surprised now.
Really?
Yeah.
Fighting fit.
Yeah,
Working out.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of questions. We're running out of time, but here's one or two. I'll just go through some of these, which are a little bit random. A lot of people obviously asking about the album title, In Rainbows.
Right. What do you want to know?
Why? What was behind it? Was it there as a title early on?
It was quite early on. Well, as soon as I had the lyric in Reckoner, it was there.
Yeah.
It's funny because you said about 3 months ago to me. So what do you think of the name In Rainbows? I said I think it was immediate. It's like, wow, that's great. And he said, good, because I'm not budging on this.
How very democratic of me.
What is it like? I mean, do you know when you walk into a studio? Do you know who's got out of bed the wrong side when you arrive?
Totally.
I actually have a little black cloud that follows me around.
Why are you looking at Tom like that?
No, that
Nowadays-
we all have that. I mean, it's not. Yeah,
Mine's a bigger one than yours.
well, we all have our bad days, and it's always obvious when people don't have.
It's actually quite good now because I just go home.
Yeah. Nowadays, you see, you don't get freaked out when people have bad days. It's like,
No.
all right, you address it rather than everyone used to sort of cower into a corner and or not say anything, and it's like, right, let's carry on. And but it's just like, listen, you're having a bad day. Why don't you just go?
Yeah.
Before you tear the tape up.
Yeah.
It's strange. Yesterday on the Music Week, we played back some clips of an interview which we did around the Bends, and it was all pretty much all individuals, I think. But as part of the interview, I asked, I think, and this is obviously going right back to the time of the Bends. It sounded like obviously it had been quite hard work. You sounded quite optimistic about the record, but unsure how people were going to react. But when asked about the sort of the democracy of the band, apparently it was the rhythm section who had the power of veto at the time.
Really?
That's what they reckoned.
Who is the rhythm section? I mean, obviously Phil is the rhythm
Phil
section.
and Colin.
Yeah.
The mind boggles.
Who has the power of veto? All of you? Or none of
Yeah,
you?
ultimately, yes.
It's like the old one. It's like the UN.
Yes. Yes. Nobody really has the power of veto there anymore, do they?
There you go. And I'll have to read this from Lee in Reading, who says, after the recent webcast, you've shown great potential as a light entertainment covers combo. Could you play My Brother's Wedding?
Yes. How much is it to get out of bed now?
Lucy wanted you to sing Happy Birthday to her, Lucy Brower.
Happy birthday.
And, oh yes, if you could relive one particular Radiohead moment, says Luke Parker in Grimsby, what would it be? Where would you go back to? If there was one particular time you'd like to have again so you could savour it this time round.
Oh, yeah, I know mine.
Do you?
Glastonbury, 97.
Yeah.
When I went over to Ed and said, I'm off, mate, all right.
and I said, just one more song. Let's get through just and let's see how it goes.
That's why it was brilliant, because he said, he was really good actually, because the lights had blown up, and the PA had blown up. Couldn't hear anything. Every time I went up to the mic, it went, brah, brah, and then just silence. And all these people waving and stuff, and I couldn't hear Jack. And then blinding white lights, and after about, 6 or 7 songs, I just went up to said, Ed, I'm off now. I can't handle it, I'm off, all right. And Ed said something like, if you go now, you probably regret it for quite some time.
No pressure.
Always the sensible one.
Yeah. And then, but it was, we got through it, and it was just, came off, and it was just, oh God, that was mental, that was horrible. And then, my missus grabbed hold of me and pushed me to the front of the stage, around the side, to the front of the stage, and said, look, it's happened, look.
Yeah.
And it was, honestly, that moment was just, it was just, everything, the whole world went upside down. It's been upside down ever since.
So what was it, the sort of realisation?
I don't know, it was just...
I have to.
I don't know.
I have to ask. Obviously, a lot of people want to know what you're going to be doing next year. Is Glastonbury on the agenda?
Everything's on the agenda. We're sort of finalising dates at the moment, so we'll see. If they want us, we haven't. I mean, we don't know yet. We've got like Schedule A, Schedule B, Schedule C.
Right.
To be decided.
And is this going to happen early next year? What are we talking? Spring?
Yeah, we're going to probably go out in May. And head out for the summer. So we'll be around about June, I think, here.
Right.
June, July.
Okay. Europe first, do you reckon?
No, America first.
Oh.
Yeah, for a few weeks in America.
Spin it on its head.
Probably. I mean, none of this is confirmed. This is all in the air.
And knowing you lot could change tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, knowing my luck, it'll probably change by about 7:30. There's probably a press release in a computer system somewhere.
Which means this interview is already out of date.
Yeah, it is. It's gone. But
unlucky.
We're going to play another track. We just have to mention this one last email from Pancake that says, I was extremely enamoured by this question for Ed. I was extremely enamoured, Ed, by your dancing during the webcast. Where did you pick up those moves? You should really dance more often on stage. You'd outshine Thom in no time.
Oh, yes.
No worries.
Let me have a dancer.
I feel a competition coming on.
Dance off. We'll get yeah. Oh, well, thank you very much. I was just simply enjoying myself and moving myself accordingly.
I think we'll put both of you in white suits.
Yeah, you know that bit in the Starsky and Hutch movie?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Okay, but that bit. Listen, thank you so much for coming in, boys. It's been a real pleasure. And take care. And we'll play out, I think, with videotape. This is Radiohead at 6 Music. Take care. We'll see you again soon.
Cheers, Steve.